Welcome to episode number 268, where I'm focusing on planetary health, and in particular, how we can each limit our own personal impact on the environment. I talk about food and waste, beauty and household products, clothes, travel, energy consumption, and how to conserve water. So please stay tuned. Welcome to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. I'm your host, Colette, and I hope to educate and empower you to take charge of your health and well-being, preventing disease in the body and mind so that you can thrive in life. I will be sharing the holistic teachings of Ayurveda, which is the ancient healing tradition from India. Now, if you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend listening to the first couple of episodes where I do an introduction to Ayurveda and the mind-body types. And if you like the content, please be sure to subscribe or follow the podcast so the new episodes will automatically download for you. Also, you may want to check out my private Elements community, which is away from social media. It's a safe space for like-minded people to come together, to connect, to share, to support each other, and to continue the conversation from the podcast episodes. Check out the link in the show notes or visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com, and just click on the community tab. And I hope to connect with you there. Thanks for listening. And now here's a new episode. This episode is sponsored by Kerala Ayurveda. One of the greatest gifts you can give the planet is aligning with nature's rhythms. At Kerala Ayurveda Academy, the learning journey begins with the basic principles you need to live a more sustainable life, studying the elements, doshas, nutrition, seasonal practices, and more. The new Principles of Ayurveda course is the perfect place to start if you want to begin your studies. It's 8 lessons you can take at your own pace. To learn more, visit keralaayurveda.us/courses. And for 35% off, use the code ELEMENTS35 when you sign up. You'll also find all that info in the show notes. Hello and welcome back to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. It's me, Colette, today for a solo episode because as we near the end of 2022, I want to talk about our intentions for 2023 and in particular, our eco-friendly intentions for 2023. In this community of Ayurveda and yoga, we have great awareness of our health and well-being, and we take an active role in ensuring that we keep our body and mind in balance so that we can not only prevent sickness, but that we can live out our true potential and self-realize in this lifetime. We certainly cannot walk this path to self-realization without having a great awareness of our connection to nature. In fact, Ayurveda teaches us that it is our disconnection from nature and the circadian rhythms which can lead to imbalances in the body and mind. In studying Ayurveda, we understand that we are a part of nature and we are dependent on nature, and therefore planetary health is a natural and necessary extension of our holistic health. In November 2022, we heard the reports from the COP26 summit, and I'm reading here from a Guardian report on the key outcomes of the summit in Egypt, and it said, since COP26, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has published the key parts of its latest vast assessment of climate science, warning of catastrophic impacts that can only be averted by sharp and urgent cuts in greenhouse gas emissions. The key finding of tipping points was a warning that the climate does not warm in a gradual and linear fashion, but that we risk tripping feedback loops that will lead to rapidly escalating effects. These include the heating of the Amazon, which could turn the rainforest to savanna, transforming it from a carbon sink to a carbon source, and the melting of permafrost that releases the powerful greenhouse gas methane. The report stated the right to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. And it noted that many medical professionals have begun to play a much more prominent role in climate talks and in climate protests, drawing a clear link between global heating and health. Now, the reports are very concerning, and we're already feeling the effects of climate change on the planet, and unfortunately, those in developing nations are feeling it the most. Now, this may sound overwhelming, and it is overwhelming to think of the scale of the crisis. However, if we break it down into what we can do in our daily life to make a positive impact on the planet, then those simple changes day in, day out over time can have a big impact. And this is what I want to talk to you about today. As we are setting our intentions for 2023 and beyond, I feel that reducing our personal impact on the climate should be high on that list. As I set my intentions for 2023, my focus is on how I can make sure I'm limiting my impact on the environment. Especially if my work is to spread the wisdom of Ayurveda and yoga, then holistic health of the planet has to be a part of that work. And every Monday on social media, I share my environmentally friendly tips, and I strive to practice what I preach. But I know I could do better. Last year, in my New Year episode in January 2022, one of my intentions was to live without a car or scooter or any vehicle for the whole year. And I'm happy to say that I was able to do that and will continue to do that going forward. Now, let me say that this is not possible for most people, and I'm fortunate to live in a village here in France that's well serviced by trains and buses, and Europe is more set up to live without a car. And I can even get the train directly from my village to the airport. And also, I need to be very clear that I'm far from perfect as I take several flights a year. So going without a vehicle helps me to offset my carbon footprint of all those plane journeys I take. Now, our carbon footprint is the amount of greenhouse gases, including carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, fluorinated gases, and others, that we produce as we live our lives. A carbon offset is a way to compensate for our emissions by reducing an equivalent carbon dioxide saving elsewhere. Climate change will only be addressed if we take responsible steps to reduce our CO2 emissions as much as possible. So in this episode, I'm going to discuss ways that we can make simple shifts in order to reduce our carbon footprint and help the environment. And I hope by sharing these, I may spark some ideas for you and also hold myself accountable to do better. So let's start with our food. What simple changes can we make in the way we buy food, store food, prepare food that's better for the environment and better for our health and well-being? Well, as we always say in Ayurveda, eating seasonally, organic, unprocessed, and local foods are the best for you and the environment. And I always recommend getting to know your local farmers market and buy your produce from them. It takes the guesswork out of figuring out what's in season, and the seasonal produce is cheaper as it's abundant. Plus, there's little to no carbon footprint as it's from a local farm and not shipped from another part of the country or world. Eating locally is not only important for the environment, but it's also important for our health, as nature provides us with seasonal fruits and veggies to help maintain balance in that season. For example, root vegetables in the cooler Vata months provide grounding nourishment to support the Vata dosha. And then the bitter greens during the wet spring or kapha season is cleansing for the body and reduces the aggravation of kapha in our body. And the summer fruits in the hotter months are cooling and hydrating for the Pitta dosha. And I love going to my local farmers market as it really helps me to feel connected with my community, and that's also beneficial for our well-being. Now, of course, growing your own vegetables, fruits, and herbs is even better. And if you have the space and time to do that, then that's excellent. And you know exactly what's going into that soil. Plus, working with the soil and plants and growing your own veggies is really grounding and really calming for our nervous system. Foraging is also eco-friendly and a great way to connect with nature, and many communities have organized foraging events to guide you on how to forage safely. And it really provides an opportunity to get to know like-minded people in your community as well. Eating plant-based is a wonderful way to reduce your carbon footprint as you're eating on the low end of the food chain. Meat and dairy production requires a lot of resources, and these industries are responsible for a high percentage of global greenhouse gas emissions, from producing the crops to feeding the animals to the processing for consumption. So reducing your meat and dairy consumption can have a big impact on reducing your carbon footprint. For staples like oats and rice, quinoa, beans, etc., it's best to buy these in bulk. And I like to buy these items from the bulk containers at my local health food shop. And I know you can now buy them in the supermarkets as well, and they may even be slightly cheaper. However, I have to say I do like to support the local small businesses who are making a real effort to provide eco-friendly solutions. So I bring my reusable cotton bags, fill them up each week with my supplies of beans and grains, and then transfer these items into glass containers for storage when I get home. And if there's something that I can't buy in bulk, well, then I will choose the item with the best biodegradable packaging and trying to avoid plastic. Okay, so now that we talked about food, let's talk about waste. We can't talk about our climate impact without talking about food waste. Wasted food produces 6 times the amount of greenhouse gas emissions as global aviation. That's crazy. 6 times the amount of greenhouse gas emissions as global aviation. It's estimated that 1/3 of all food produced in the world goes to waste, which is an absolute crime due to the amount of undernourished people on the planet, not to mention the waste of resources that went into producing that food in the first place, into the production, the energy, the water, and the transport. And when food is thrown into a landfill, it rots and produces methane, a greenhouse gas that is even more potent than carbon dioxide. And about 6 to 8% of all human-caused greenhouse gas emissions could be reduced if we stop wasting food. So let's look at some simple changes that we can make in order to play our part in preventing food waste and help us save money at the same time. So planning our weekly meals in advance and buying only the ingredients we need for that week is a great way to reduce waste. And also planning in advance will encourage healthy choices and avoid last-minute purchases of highly processed foods. Storing your fruits and veggies so that they last longer. This is a big one because how many times do we buy fruit and veggies and they're spoiled before we even get to use them? Putting your leafy greens like kale and your herbs in a jar of water in the fridge will keep them nice and fresh. Potatoes, garlic, and onions should be stored in a dry, cool area. Bananas, apples, and pears should be stored away from other fruit as they emit ethylene, which causes other fruits to ripen faster. And ginger and lemons can be stored in the fridge. And also eat the foods that spoil easily first. This will ensure that you don't have to waste food, and you can revive your wilted greens with an ice bath. So even if they're looking a little sad, they're still good. They just need a little ice bath to revive them. Now, the next one is a little controversial as Ayurveda recommends avoiding leftovers. However, I think for many of us, it's not possible to cook fresh daily, and I prioritize avoiding food waste. So I do recommend batch cooking and then adding prana or energy into your leftovers by adding ghee or olive oil, black pepper, and a fresh veggie like spinach when you're reheating. Now, there are some grains that need to be cooked fresh daily, but things like soups and so on can be batch cooked. Using your veggie scraps for stocks or compost what you can't use. And if you don't have a garden, sometimes a local farmer or gardener will be happy to accept your scraps. Making your own plant-based milk Plant-based milks are better for the environment than dairy as they require less resources. However, popularity of some milks, especially almond milk, has created an industrial monoculture production, and this results in stress on the soil due to the lack of diversity in crops, as crops should not be grown in the same soil every year without replacing the nutrients taken by the plants. Plus, this monoculture reduces diversity for the insects. The better option is to choose a plant-based milk made from an off-season crop. For example, oat milk is a good eco-friendly option because oat milk is one of the lowest carbon footprints among plant-based milks. Oats are used as a cover crop in the off-season, which helps to benefit the soil by restoring nutrients. So you could save money and avoid all the excess packaging and additives in store-bought plant-based milks by simply making your own oat milk. And here's a quick recipe for making your own oat milk is to take 1 cup of oats and 4 cups of water and blend the oats and water until creamy and white, and then strain this mixture using a strainer bag or clean towel. And you can add dates or honey and maple syrup if you want to sweeten your milk. And then using the leftover oats that's left in your strainer, and you could use that for granola or making some bliss balls, and that would be a great way to use up that waste. And for more information on the different types of plant milks and which is best for each dosha type, check out my podcast episode number 183. It's a Q&A episode where I discuss this in detail. Now, as a conscious consumer, we can encourage farmers to increase regenerative agricultural practices and focus on improving soil health and biodiversity. Healthy soil creates a positive feedback loop across the ecosystem by creating soil that improves resiliency and reduces greenhouse gases. And it even has the potential to cool the climate if large enough areas are regenerated. So how do we encourage farmers to increase regenerative agricultural practices? Well, by purchasing products made from off-season or cover grains. So for example, wheat flour is most often used for baking, and so there's a high demand for wheat production. However, by switching up our flour to off-season crops like rye, barley, oats, spelt, or amaranth, it can reduce the demand on wheat production and encourage farmers to grow more of these off-season crops, allowing the soil to rejuvenate. Plus, it will also increase the diversity of plants that we get in our diet, which is important as we often have a limited range of plants that we consume. And just like the soil and insects, our body thrives on a diversity of nutrients. So I just mentioned batch cooking in these tips. And you know where else I use batch cooking? In my Digestive Reset Cleanse. And my next group cleanse starts January 27th, 2023. And what a great way to start the new year by taking care of your health, pacifying any imbalance in the doshas, and eliminating any accumulation of toxins from the holiday season. Now, if you want to know if you have an accumulation of toxins, I have a new toxin quiz on the homepage of my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com. And I'll also put that link in the show notes, and you can find out the status of any toxin buildup in your body. This Digestive Reset Cleanse comes with a 90-minute online consultation with me so that I can check on your current health status and tailor the recipes, the self-care, the mindfulness practices to you and your lifestyle. I have recorded webinars to guide you through each portion of the cleanse, and there's also a private group forum where we can connect, ask questions, and support each other. This reset will help you get back into healthy eating and good habits for the new year. For further details or to book your online 90-minute consultation today, visit elementshealingandwellbeing.com or just click on the link in the show notes. And if the group cleanse date of January 27th doesn't work for you, then you can book a private cleanse and choose your own dates. So I hope you can come join us at the start of 2023 for this great reset for your body and mind. Okay, now let's move on to products, particularly beauty products and household products, really any product you use in your home. Whatever we put on our body is absorbed into our body by our skin, which is our largest organ. Therefore, buying beauty products, which are made from natural ingredients, is essential for our health. We understand that on the market today, there are many endocrine disrupting ingredients in many beauty products, household cleaners, and lots more. So doing our homework and investing in those brands who are putting our health and the planet's health as a priority is a great way to invest in our future. The Environmental Working Group in the US, EWG, provides a list of verified products which meets EWG's strict scientific standards for transparency and health. Their team of toxicologists, chemists, and epidemiologists scrutinize every product, empowering you to purchase safer products. They not only cover beauty products in their Skin Deep report, but also household products and food, providing us with the Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen fruit and vegetable listings every year. Now, we know chemicals are used to improve shelf life and product effectiveness, but they have very harmful effects on our health and the health of the environment. And EWG does a wonderful job at alerting us to this. For example, have you ever heard of forever chemicals? PFAS chemicals are man-made substances used to repel grease, water, and dirt. They get their name forever chemicals as they are very slow to break down. PFAS chemicals are used in nonstick pans, carpets, personal care products, and cosmetics. PFAS chemicals are often toxic and bind to blood proteins and have been linked to various cancers, infertility, and have negative effects on the immune system. While the long-chained PFAS toxins accumulate in humans and animals, the short-chained ones accumulate in our water sources and are impossible to purify. Some PFAS chemicals have been banned, however, there are many still in use. So it's important to invest in high-quality, eco-friendly products from conscious brands to protect your health and the health of our environment. So here are some tips on avoiding PFAS chemicals according to EWG. First of all, avoid fast food packaging, which are often PFAS treated, including microwavable popcorn bags. Choose personal care products and cosmetics without PFTE or fluoro ingredients. Avoid buying outdoor gear with the Gore-Tex or Teflon tags and fabrics that are labeled stain or water repellent. Avoid PFTE-based nonstick pans and utensils, and avoid optional stain repellent treatment on carpets and furniture. Now, I highly recommend checking out the EWG.org website. That's US-based, and in Europe, the EEB, or European Environmental Bureau, is Europe's largest network of environmental citizens organizations from 38 countries, and their site is eeb.org. And if you're in another country, I would encourage you to find out the equivalent of EWG in your country. Okay, so now we need to talk about clothes, and we know the fast fashion industry has resulted in people buying more of these cheap clothes and throwing them away at a faster rate. These piles of cheap clothes end up in landfill. Plastic is found in 60% of garments, and this plastic-based fabric can take anywhere between 20 to 200 years to decompose. And this plastic, of course, can end up in our waterways. Many of these clothes are also produced by companies that do not have ethical business practices. So each of us can make an impact here by, first of all, not buying fast fashion and ideally support sustainable brands or buy vintage or secondhand clothes. Purchase from companies that are environmentally friendly and companies that have ethical business practices. Of course, we can always repair our clothes, or giving our clothes away to charity or having swap meets with our friends is a great way to recycle our clothes. Also, invest in quality clothes that will stand the test of time. These items may be a little bit more expensive up front. However, you will have them for a long time if you take care of them. Okay, so let's move on to travel, looking at the amount of car trips you take and maybe trying to combine those trips to save on emissions. Plus, you will save on fuel too. Carpooling to work with coworkers is a great way to save on fuel and emissions. And the added bonus is the carpool lane is often the fastest. Also, maintaining your vehicle to make sure it's running efficiently by checking the tire pressure, removing any unused roof racks. All these small things make a big impact on your fuel consumption and emissions. Also, seeing if there are some trips that can be done by foot or bicycle, which is a great way to include some exercise too. So here are some tips for when you're taking a trip. Support or invest in green travel companies that are eco-friendly and have sustainable initiatives. Booking direct flights, it may be a little bit more expensive, but it does save on fuel and stress as well. So you don't have to stress about any connections. Traveling by train is really much more environmentally friendly, as trains emit between 66 and 75% less carbon than cars and airplanes. Plus, you don't have all that fuss at the airport, no baggage restrictions, and trains usually arrive right in the center of a city. I love train travel, and it's a really great way to see the countryside. Hotels and Airbnbs often have eco-friendly initiatives, asking you to reuse towels. I also recommend putting the Do Not Disturb sign on your door if you don't need your room cleaned daily, as again, that will save a lot of energy. And talking about energy, let's look at energy conservation. It's good to do an energy audit of your home to help you identify ways to prevent energy loss and reduce your energy consumption. So a great place to start here is by draft-proofing your home. This is one of the cheapest and most effective ways to save energy. And the areas that you can check are like your windows, so using draft-proofing strips will help fill in any gaps. Check your doors, like the keyhole and letterbox covers are great. Using a draft guard for gaps at the bottom of your door. Checking the floorboards and pipework and then closing those gaps in with fillers. Also, investing in an aerated shower head can make a massive difference to your energy and water bills. This type of shower head helps inject air into the water stream, making the flow feel more powerful while limiting the water usage. If it's not possible to change your shower head, then you could implement some simple eco-friendly tips of turning off the water when you're shampooing your hair or shaving, as this will cut down on the amount of water you're using. Other simple practices to save on energy is to allow the sun into your home to warm it up during the day, during those cold winter days, and closing the curtains during the cooler times of day to prevent the loss of heat. Changing incandescent light bulbs, which waste 90% of their energy as heat, to LEDs, which do cost more upfront, but they use a quarter of the energy and last up to 25 times longer. So they're a great investment. Plugging out our devices and turning off lights when not using them. And the biggest energy wasters are laptops, computers, TV, the gaming systems, kitchen appliances, phone chargers, lamps and lighting fixtures as well. Also make sure that your thermostats, your timers, and the filters in your heating or AC vents are working efficiently. Running the dishwasher or washing machine during off-peak hours helps to save energy and money. And washing your clothing in cold water. The enzymes in cold water detergent are specifically designed to clean better in cold water. So doing 2 loads of laundry weekly in cold water instead of in hot or warm water can save up to 500 pounds of carbon dioxide each year. So definitely worth doing that. And then I would encourage you to air dry your clothes. Get a clothesline or a clothes horse for your apartment. So next we're going to look at water. Water is a precious resource. Conserving water saves energy as energy is needed to filter, heat, and pump water into our homes. Therefore, reducing water waste also reduces our energy consumption and our carbon footprint. Here are some simple tips on how we can conserve water at home. So first of all, only fill the kettle to the amount you need. If you do have leftover hot water stored in a thermos to keep warm, and sip on this throughout the day. We know in Ayurveda that sipping on hot water throughout the day really aids our digestive fire. Also, avoid running the water when washing dishes or your teeth or shaving or shampooing, because running water can waste several liters per minute. Now, if you are running water while waiting for the water to get warm, you could collect this water and then use this to water plants. And harvesting rainwater is also a great idea. This rainwater can be used to water plants, your garden, or even clean your car. And for conserving water in your garden, use mulch and bark in your garden to reduce water evaporation, and this helps you avoid using sprinklers. Again, water is a precious resource and we can't take it for granted, so making some simple changes will help to conserve water and keep more water in our ecosystems, helping to protect the animals and the environment. So there you go. There are some eco-friendly ideas for intentions for 2023. And of course, the added benefit to being environmentally aware is that we can also help save money, as we're making more conscious choices on how we spend our energy, our money, and our time, investing our hard-earned money in high-quality, sustainable, and eco-friendly products and services. I hope these tips were helpful, and if you think that they would be helpful to family or friends, please share it with them. And I would also love to hear your eco-friendly tips. Please feel free to comment under this post on social media, and you'll find me under Elements Healing and Wellbeing on Facebook and Instagram. As we close out 2022, I want to thank you for tuning in and for your support and listening to the podcast. And on that note, I do have a short survey where I would love to get your feedback on what you want most from the podcast. I'll put that link in the show notes, and it just helps me plan the podcast episodes for 2023 to make sure I'm publishing episodes that you're interested in. So please click on the link in the show notes to take that podcast survey. If you haven't already subscribed or follow the podcast, please do so, and the new episodes will automatically download for you. And if you would like to rate and review the podcast, I would really appreciate that. It would help others find the podcast so we can spread this wisdom of Ayurveda. So thank you again for your support. I really appreciate it, and wishing you all the best for the holiday season and for 2023. And I hope to connect with you at some stage. Take good care of yourself, be well, and bye for now. Slán go fóill.